All right, excellent. Well, hello, and welcome everyone to our BG5 Live. Great to have each and every one of you here with us today. Been a couple weeks since I've been here, so it's great to be back. Great to be a part of BG5 Live. We have a few technical difficulties. I don't know if Shelley shared any of that with you, but we're kind of scrambling and getting everything working again because we ended up, something happened technology wise that we lost the old BG5 Live link and everything else. So we're getting it back up to speed and getting everything running. And so apologize for not being here for a couple weeks and also for any of the technical issues as well. But I think we're back on track. Yay. So today is October 18th, 2022. Today is episode 178. And today we're going to take a look at two traits today. We're going to take a look at trait 32 as well as trait 50. So we're going to take a look at continuity aligned with our values. So that's what we're going to be exploring today. So of course, before we get started, let's say hello to our panel. Let's start with Shelley. Hello, Shelley. Welcome. Thank you for taking over the last couple of weeks.
Hello. Thanks, Karen, for giving me the opportunity to be the one to fumble with the technology. We had fun, though, and we're happy to have you back.
Yes. Well, great to be here. And welcome, Anna.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, welcome back, Karen. And Shelley did a great job. And let's keep the continuity going here.
Yes, exactly. And I've promoted some of our people in our Zoom room as well to panelists as well, and we'll hear them as we go along. So again, welcome everyone. Great to have you all here. Now, before we jump in and get started, we have some big news to share as well. If you haven't heard already, the BG5 Institute is now an accredited institution. So as an ISET accredited partner, the BG5 Institute offers ISET CEU credit. So CEU credit stands for Continuing Education Units for its learning events that comply with the ANSI and ASET Continuing Education Training Standards. And so ISET stands for the International Accreditors for Continuing Education and Training. It's a mouthful. That's why I call it ISET. But anyway, so we are now official. And so we now offer CEU credits. So if you are looking to take any of our courses, you will receive CEU credits starting in January. So it's been a huge task and it is a huge accomplishment as well, which I think will be beneficial not only for the Institute, but more importantly for each of you as students and also as BG5 consultants to really fully be recognized as an accredited institution. So again, getting credits to be able to take our courses. So we're very, very proud of that. I don't know if there's anything else. Shelley's been on the team and putting this all together as well. I don't know if there's anything, Shelley, that you would like to add.
Well, I want to give a big shout out to Karen and Sarah for taking us through this process. And one of the things that we got as feedback in the interview process was how professional and how well done our application was. And that's a huge credit to both Karen and Sarah and all the hard work they put into it to make sure that it was just right. And a big credit to Karen for being the one to kind of develop all the courses to start with in a very professional way that made it easy for them to see that what we're doing at the BG5 Business Institute is worth being accredited for. So congratulations, Karen, for all your hard work over the last 7 years or so, building all of the courses and programs that have made the BG5 Business Institute something that people want to come and learn about, and to be able to have this stamp of approval from a third party who is the one that accredits most online universities, colleges, any higher learning education institution or organization. This is the international organization that accredits all of the high standard of delivering continuing education. So I feel really privileged to be part of it, and I really have come in at the end of it when you guys have done all the hard work. Just here to help support it moving forward,
Yeah.
helping manage things so that we can continue to roll things out and continue to offer courses and develop more courses and continue to meet this high standard. So way to go, Karen.
Yeah,
Let's
well,
do
thank
that
you.
as well.
Yeah, thank you so much, Shelly. And again, we had an amazing team putting it together. So yeah, Sarah Riddick was really instrumental in putting it all together. And of course, Linda Bonnell as well. So all of us have worked really, really diligently in getting this done. And what this also means for students as well is oftentimes employers will actually pay for your education if it's accredited, or if you've been in the military, they'll pay for your education if it's accredited through the military. Oftentimes, there's also a lot of businesses that require so many CEU credits every year, and this qualifies for those CEU credits. So it really is, in a sense, sort of like getting a college degree, because that really is the level of the information that we deliver and that we teach at the BG5 Institute. So very, very proud to get that done. So let's now take a look at where we are. So we are in October, and what's interesting about October is it's all focused around the survival instincts, and it's the instincts. And I forgot to re-highlight this, but the instincts to survival through correction and deep knowing. When attuning to the sound, you can hear what can be transformed that is aligned with our values, and to take risks to fight for what is right, and the alertness to know what benefits the whole. So we took a look at correction in the 18. We took a look at the 48 with the deep well of instinctual wisdom. Last week, we took a look at intuitive insight in the 57, a deep instinctive attunement to sound. And today we're going to take, again, a look at two traits. We're going to take a look at the 32, the instinct for what can be transformed, and our values in the 50, the instinct for the integrity of the law. What's interesting is both of these traits happen to be very tribal. They are all about support. They're also about the bargain and making sure that the tribe survives. And then next week, we'll take a look at the game player. Can you believe October's almost over? This is just crazy. Time is just flying by. So let's take a look at continuity. And what's interesting with continuity in the 32, what you'll notice that it's grounded by growth in the 42. The 42 is also brings completion of a cycle, right? So if we take a look at, especially in the Northern Hemisphere, we're in fall. And in a sense, this is, in a sense, completing the year. It's wrapping things up. In the Southern Hemisphere, you're wrapping up winter and moving to spring. So either way, it's a big change. And so we're wrapping up what's come before so that we can then move forward through values into what is new. So, and then also we'll take a look at alertness as we continue to move through October as well. So let's take a look at today's theme. Whoop, my bullets are not working. Everything's not working today. Is it a third line day? No, I think it's a fifth line day. Anyway, so 32 of continuity. It's the balance between what's working successfully, conservatism, and the unknown risks. This is the fear of failure that accompany transformation and change. So we are in the midst of transformation and change. Whenever we're taking a look at survival instinct, there are fears, and the fear here is the fear of failure. Luckily, I don't have the fear of failure. So we were able to persevere and get through all of the little things that are not working today. But anyway, so let's take a look at continuity. So the only thing that endures is change, right? There's one of the things that you've probably noticed is that there is a lot of change, probably a lot of change happening in your personal world. Also, a lot of change happening in the global context, right? There's a lot of change going on, and the only thing which endures is change. And it's the instinct to adapt in the now without losing continuity. So it's maintaining our basic nature. So one of the things about change is if you change something all of a sudden, it can be very, very destabilizing because nobody knows what's happening. Nobody knows what's new. No one knows how to move forward. So you need that continuity that grounds things based on the past, but yet transforms things moving forward into the future. And again, it's connected to the survival instinct. So the instincts are focused on the constant evaluation of what can and what cannot be transformed, right? So as things are changing, like I said, there are things that need to stay the same and there are things that need to change. There needs to be a balance. Again, what we saw in the last bullet, this balance between what's working successfully now, not changing everything, and being able to take risks in order to transform, in order to change. And it's the ability to adapt while maintaining your true nature, but this can also put the brakes on runaway ambition. On the other side of the 32 is the 54, which I'm very familiar with my life work theme, is the 54. So it also makes sure that, again, that runaway ambition doesn't take place, that things are very cautiously laid out, making sure that you're not changing too many things at once. And when you what you recognize and value is what you are encouraged to read, is what you encourage and also retain. Remember, this is also tribal as well, right? So it's what are those things that you want to make sure, what are the values of the tribe itself, of the community itself, of the business itself, of the organization itself, that you want to make sure that you maintain despite all of the changes. And recognizing and bringing attention to those who have the skills or the education to move up in the world. So one of the things about the 32, we talk about this in OC 16, it's also the personnel manager. One of the things about the 32 is the 32 can also recognize who has talent and who has the ability to, in a sense, rise up. And so oftentimes the 32 is also associated with the personnel manager, or the person who hires, because they're the ones who recognize who has talent. And so they recognize the value of the employees and who should be hired as well. So anyone with the 32, if you're looking to hire someone, find someone with the 32. They're really good at really being able to sense the skills and making sure. This is the fear of failure. This is the fear of failure with an organization or a tribe or a group. So of course, you don't want to fail. So you want to hire the right people, right, in order for the organization to continue forward and also move forward in the future, having a strong team. So with that, I would love to hear from Shelley and Anna, and of course, anyone who is here in our Zoom room as well. We would love to hear from you, especially if you do have trait 32, or if you know someone who has trait 32 and you have a great example of how the 32 works. So Anna, would you like to kick us off?
Yes, I will. I don't have a 32. A very dear friend of mine does. And she has it in her unconscious core essence. And, I've known her for decades. So, I've been able to see her progression, my progression. She was an occupational therapist, and she worked in the neonatal unit, tiny babies. And I thought it was fascinating how she would bring out the skills in people. She could tell, I mean, partly through training, but also in her instinct. She was really good. She could tell, even though there was a program, and a set routine and the developmental scale and all that stuff, she could actually maneuver that for the success of the team to be able to work with these little tiny children. And I think I said she's an express builder. So she'd go forward and then have to back up. That's kind of what they do. She'd go forward and have to back up. And there was always this kind of stop, start, she'd have the ambition and or all that energy and then kind of go back and forth. And finally, I mean, over the years, now she's retired and all that, I really see the consistency over the years, the continuity of her skill, learning to adapt, helping other people adapt to sometimes really dire situations.
Yeah.
And that was not only her skill, but she would be able to get her team to work for the betterment of the little kid or the family. I thought it was fascinating. So that's the relationship I have with that.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you so much, Anna, for sharing that. And how about for you, Shelley?
Yeah, I don't have this, but like you, I've got the 54. So just pondering, how that works. My son, though, does have the full strength, and I'm just realizing some of the things I watch him struggle with are he's got all kinds of ambition and great ideas on what he wants to do. But I think the fear of failure really stops him in his tracks. He has a hard time pushing forward to actually do it, to actually, pull the trigger and actually get things going. He gets lots of things started, or he's just afraid to start, or it's just interesting to hear it from this. So it does put brakes on runaway ambition, but it also holds him back from actually, really jumping in and doing what he really wants to do. We're constantly encouraging him to just go for it. But he often really spends a lot of time caught up in all the reasons why it wouldn't work or might not work or might not be the thing. He does have a great eye for who has talent, though. And one of the things he wanted to do in his life was become a hockey scout. He, with our family being really involved in sports, he was in hockey, and my husband ran a roller hockey league, and he was a big part of evaluating the kids and who could go on which team. And he's really, really great at that. And he also was out scouting for players, helping my husband when he built the soccer team. And he ended up finding a young fellow that came to the team who's now actually made his way well up into probably as high as you could go in Canada with soccer. So he's that's been really great as well. So I can see how all sides of this trait has been at play in his life, and just really interested if anybody else has any who's got the 32 can talk about what that fear of failure feels like for them as well, and if it holds them back, or because this is something I can help with now that I understand it a little bit better too.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, Lori.
I have the 32 twice in future direction and laws, and unconscious though in the second one. I definitely, I assess every angle of something before moving forward. So because I don't want to take on something that might not succeed. So in answer to what Shelley was saying about that, but because it's the future direction, that would be my environment as well, I assume. Because in organizations, I tend to always get with people who want to rush ahead without looking at all the angles first. And I'm always the one that's pulling back and saying we should look at all that, we should look at it this way and this way. And I find myself trying to put the brakes on. And the changes usually end up happening. They end up being a little sloppy, I think, but ultimately for the best. But yeah, there's definitely, I happen to have the 50 also, so I'm kind of involved in all the tribal. I think this, I read somewhere that the 32 has to do with financial management for the tribe as well.
Could be. I'm not quite sure about that one. But definitely the the management of resources. Yeah,
I definitely, when I'm in organizations, because I have the 42, I'm always the one left there cleaning up, and whatever's left over, if there's food or there's clothing or flowers, I end up being able to find match up the right people with those resources. It's a slightly different angle on the 32, but
Yeah.
that seems to be part of it as well. But again, because it's a future direction, it may be who I'm surrounded with more than myself. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Well, it's still, even when it's in your future direction, it's still a part of you as well.
Mhm.
So yeah, beautiful. And really great example, Lori, of, again, putting the brakes on to be able to make sure that you're not changing too many things too fast, to make sure that that change is not as messy as it could be, because ultimately it's about transforming things, but you need to transform things in a way that people can digest it. Whereas again, sometimes it takes a while, and being able to slow the process down just enough so that we don't run into failure by trying to take on too much too quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I find a lot of people do move without looking at every aspect first.
Mhm. Exactly. Beautiful. And yes, Jalissa.
Hi, here I am again.
Hey.
So my ex had that the 32, and now I have so much compassion for that way of thinking. Yeah, definitely, he was very just so worried about failure. He started a business. It didn't go as planned. He failed, and since then he has been so just stuck on that,
Mm.
where he has these ideas, because he also has the 1156 or the 11, and he has all of these ideas, but then he just seems like the moment that he needs to take a risk, he just stops. And it's also in his communication, so he talks a lot about things, failure and things not working out, and like not wanting to put himself in that position again. So he went from wanting to be a business owner and owning these kind of like much more risky, I guess, business adventures, to going into the healthcare and going into a very just safe zone where he didn't have to put himself out there in a risky way as he did before.
Yeah, really great example. Both of the fear, just like, what Shelley was saying too, of the fear that held him back, right? And also, in a sense, it is more of a, conservative, playing it safe kind of trait, to make sure that failure doesn't happen. However, again, it can also hold you back as well. Beautiful. Thank you so much, Jalissa.
Of course.
Yes. And do you prefer going by JJ or?
It's Jalissa. Yeah, I just need to figure out how to change.
Oh, okay. I was just making sure.
No, Jalissa, thank you so much.
Beautiful. All right, well, let's take a look at what's on the other side, and also take a look at the shadow of the 32, how you get affected when you're connected. So this is the shadow of the 32, or when you don't have trait 32, and especially if you have trait 54, but you don't have trait 32. So the shadow is the lack of continuity to direct your ambition towards lasting value. So do you have a lot of drive and ambition, but lack direction? Or do you have the energy to rise up the ladder, but often direct your energy towards doing things that have no lasting value? And so the problem is your drive needs direction. And without this direction, your drive may turn to blind ambition, lacking lasting value. So that's the blind ambition. So the blind ambition can be on the other side, where you just want to get up the ladder. You just want to do all of these things. You want to get to the top. And then you find that, well, I got there, but now what? Right? It's maybe not as fulfilling. So finding something that really has lasting value. And the solution is that you're designed to work with others who can recognize your abilities and direct, that should be your ambitions. I don't know what that word is, should direct your ambitions, your ambitious drive towards something meaningful and something lasting as well. So I know, Shelley, you have the 54, but not the 32. I'm wondering how this shows up for you.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I think I've just become more aware of it as I've been learning about this for certain. But definitely there's times when I have a ton of energy and I just start doing something. And then I wake up partway through and go, wait a minute, what am I doing this for? Why are we doing this again? What's this for? But at least I kind of have become aware of it. There's lots of times in my past career when I can think of starting something that takes a lot of energy to do, and I know I can do it, but then I get there and go, what did I do that for? There was nobody actually wanted that or needed it, or it was just something I saw I could do. So I'm much more aware of it now, that and just even understanding about being a builder and responding instead of just running ahead trying to make things happen. That's made a huge difference, to just wait to respond to something, and then I know that I'm using my energy in the correct way, or my drive and stamina, my motivation. I do have the 2, which gives me like a long-term vision, future direction that I'm usually aiming for. So, but it's big and far away, and it's not necessarily a close target of something. So I'm generally moving in a direction most of the time anyhow, but definitely there's been times where I've spent a lot of energy on something that didn't really bring me the satisfaction because it wasn't really needed. I didn't do it in response. So yeah, it's been really great to understand that in a different way.
Yeah, I can totally relate, Shelley, to what you just said, because I also have the 54. I also have the 2 as well in general, which is direction and vision. However, I can think of many things that I've like put myself all into and created this great thing, and nothing happened out of it. And yeah, so I've done that quite often.
Yeah. And it's funny, it's kind of like you're standing there holding the bag going, well, wait a minute, how come nobody wants this?
Right.
This great thing I just made. And nobody asked for it or needed it or could see the value in it.
Right.
So that's the hardest part, is when you do put your all into something and then it just sort of is there. It doesn't really get any kind of a reception or the response you're hoping for. And it's almost like I feel like I'm invisible in those times. It's like, what? Didn't anybody notice I was doing this?
Right. Yeah, exactly. And the 32, that's one of the things that it's almost like the 32, this is a projected strength. So it does need to be recognized and invited, and that's one of the roles of the 32, is actually to recognize the 54. Again, in larger groups, the 54 is, the worker on the shop floor that rises up, through the ranks. They call it also the marrying maiden, that, the 54 rises up to be the 45. However, it can only do that if it's recognized, and the 32 is there to recognize. And that's why, again, working with someone who has the 32 can be quite helpful in making sure that the energy is utilized in the proper way.
Yes, and we know Natalie has the 32
Yes.
on our team, and she's great at that. And like I said, I've watched my son and other people I know who have this be able to just know, no, that person's going to go somewhere, or no, they're not. And I'm always, well, how do you know that? How can you tell? But they do just have that inner knowing, that inner sense.
Yeah, exactly. How about for you, Anna?
Well, it's been an interesting week. What I can relate to in this is I'm struck by the word continuity, because I used to, when I was younger, even though I'm not a builder, I could go on a project all day and love it and do it. And maybe that was my the quality. Anyway, and as I've gotten older, even just different life demands, I couldn't focus all day or do something and take a break and come back to it and come back to it and come back to it. You know, I had to deal with other people and other things. And then just recently with this week, I was house sitting for my daughter. I also got really sick. So my own routine was a little bit off. And I've been doing a fitness program and building up some strength. And that's the point, you know. But because of the two parts there, not being at the gym and being sick and blah, 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 just a couple days, I went back to the program today with my trainer friend. And I said, you know, I'm a little wobbly today, noodly today. And he goes, okay, well, you know, he's very careful, but he really pressed, you know, it's like, okay, let's just keep moving through. And I found that I really could rise to the task, that the muscle memory, even though it's been a short time, kicked in really quickly, even though I had a sort of a break. So the continuity was really in my body after taking, you know, getting into a rhythm of working out and being there for. So I thought that was very interesting because, I mean, I'm certainly willing. I love doing the program, but I could tell my body was like, yeah, let's get back into the rhythm of this. Let's continue with this. It's just interesting that that happened this week, you know.
Right. Yeah, and how it affected you. Yeah, and taking a look at that continuity. Yeah, beautiful. Thank you, Anna. And Leanna, I don't know if you wanted to share what you typed in the forum.
Oh my gosh, yes. Hi, Karen. Hi, everyone.
Hey.
Yeah, well, a couple things. So I just looked up because JJ shared about her ex having tried a business and not succeeding in that. And I have such a soft spot for that as an entrepreneur. But I fail over and over and over again. And I just, you know, I don't have the 32, so I don't look at it as failure. But my man, I just looked him up. Yep, he's got the 32, doesn't he? And he inherited a business, and he usually plays it very safe. But he inherited the business. I'm very proud of him. He stepped up and had to go. And it didn't work, you know. And yeah, so he's just back into a role where he doesn't have to, it's not testing him too much. And he talks a lot about the security, playing it safe. He keeps him, you know, that's fine. Can I share something else though? Really cool.
Please. Yes,
so
please.
So funny. So I was being tested this week. I had with the 32, I had some anxiety, just around, you know, vision. I felt like I couldn't fulfill a role I was in. It's like I lost touch with my knowingness or my vision, and I just could feel I was just kind of swimming in a sea of confusion, and I really needed direction. But what I really felt emotionally was the anxiety of it. And then it obviously it highlighted for me fear of future, fear of bills, fear of, you know, not being good enough. And it actually activated a fear of failure, which like I said, I don't usually feel. So I was feeling that. My girlfriend contacts me. She's in Bali doing yoga training. It's really hard, a lot harder than she thought. So she called me. And I looked up the trait. She said to me, can you look up the trait, please? So I was like, yes, because she finds great comfort in it. So I do not have it defined. She does not have it defined. And yet the 32 absolutely activated. And it was funny because in the conversation I said to her, you just need to endure this moment that you're in. You just need to endure it. You just need to, we could really feel that there was a space here. Now I also look at human design, and I look at their, look at their version of how they describe this. So I love, knowing both. But just to summarize, she was definitely struggling to endure the change. The word I had just said to her about enduring. So we couldn't believe it, that was here in this trait. And just, it gave her so much support to say that she can adapt and maintain, she can adapt, and she can do this. And what was really interesting was she was all in her head. And I said to her, you don't need to be in your head, because your body or the field will take you where it's going to take you. You don't need to use your head. And because you're feeling uncomfortable, you don't need to leave something prematurely. So it was really interesting. The conversation was about enduring and then leaving something prematurely. And I said to her, if you leave, it's going to be worse, because you're going to regret that you left. And I felt it this week as well. I felt that I needed to endure, that you don't leave in the 32. Like that's sort of the feeling I have. You don't leave in the 32, because the 32 stirs everything up, but you're not meant to leave. You're meant to endure. So that, honestly, this information, it literally calmed her down. And then the next day she called me and she said she'd pushed through. She asked for what she needed. She told her, teachers that she was struggling. They offered her support. And now she's flying high. Now, she could have left. If we didn't have that conversation, if she didn't ask for this information, she could have left, because it could have felt too much and she would have been by herself. And when we talk about the shadow and how we all need to work together, or even just all the traits, BG5 being so relational, it's not just about working together. It's about sharing and talking. It's about sharing and talking, not just working. So we can be talking about these traits to people, because it's going to help all of us. Because she asked me, when I gave her the information, I was able to take it in for myself, and then I calmed down as well. So it's sharing it.
I'll
love
stop that.
Talking.
I love that. Well, here's the thing, and this is why knowing this information is very practical, right? This is the practical application of how this actually works. Because all of a sudden, when we enter the 32, you may all of a sudden, like you were sharing, feeling like you're failing and having that fear. And this is also, connected to the strength of ambition, which is also about transformation. And when transformation is afoot, sometimes it's difficult. It's sometimes difficult to change. And we want to hold on to the old. And like you were saying, Leanna, it's really about persevering and getting to the other side and having that balance, again, between taking risks and being safe, but at the same time accepting that change and knowing that, okay, I'm not going crazy, I feel like I'm failing, and then realizing that that's part of the fear that is activated collectively. Recognizing that you're not alone, and this too shall pass. We won't be in the 32 forever. And being able to take a look at how you can take advantage of it to transform, which it sounds exactly what your friend did as well. So thank you so much for sharing that, because that also shows whether you have it in your design or you don't have it in your design, how we are affected on a daily basis, which is what we take a look at in BG5 Live, so that we can see, in a sense, what fears may be activated, what other things may be activated that we need to pay attention to, not take it personally, and move through. So really beautifully shared. I love that story. Thank you so much, Leanna. Beautiful. Excellent. All right, so we have taken a look at the 32, and you'll notice both with the 32 as well as next week's theme that we're going to be moving into with values, there is this element of security, of safety. Remember, we're dealing with the survival instinct. The survival instinct wants to feel good by feeling safe. And especially when we're taking a look at these two elements, the 32 and the 50, which are both tribal, right? It is this tribal element of safety, of security. And especially when we take a look at trait 50. Trait 50 is of values. and the value of historical continuity. So again, you'll see the word continuity here again. The value of historical continuity whose traditional values serve and enrich the present and the future. So again, it really is maintaining that continuity through change, through transformation. And this is establishing the rules and the laws for caring when we take a look at trait 50. It's guarding the values and the integrity of the law and the structures that protect and uphold the well-being of the tribe. So one of the things about the tribe is there has to be, in a sense, sort of rules or laws or traditions or something that you follow so that everybody is on the same page. And when we take a look at historical continuity where traditional values serve and enrich the present and the future, right? So again, this is in a sense playing it safe as opposed to having it be risky. It's based on, what we've done historically in the past and the instinctual awareness to scrutinize what is corrupt or what is unjust or what is unnecessary or what is self-serving or what needs to be challenged or what needs to be changed. It's interesting here in the United States, we're in the middle of a mid-year election cycle, right? And so a lot of this is, a lot of scrutinizing is coming up with, what's corrupt or unjust or unnecessary or self-serving. And we're seeing it on, all sides. It's having us also question, what are our own values? What do I value? And, being present to that. This is also, especially when we take a look at larger organizations, this is the enforcer or the guardian of the laws. So you help establish and maintain what is right and what is wrong. Right. So it can sometimes be, when we take a look at values, there can be some moral judgment on that as well. But really, it's for each of us to know what our own personal values are. And because this is tribal, typically tribes, organizations, groups have a particular set of values. One of the things that, we take a look at whenever we look at organizations are what is the values, missions, and vision of a company? What's the values, mission, and vision of an organization? Because the values set the tone of what's really important for that tribe, for that group, for that organization, for that business. And the 50 is the one within the organization that really enforces those rules or those laws or, the way of being within an organization. And it's also about caring and nurturing. So it's caring for and nurturing every aspect of life within the community. If we take a look at what this particular strength is, it really is part of the sort of cradle of humanity, if you will. It's the defense circuit or the protection circuitry that on one side we have more of the birthing a new child with the sexuality or birthing a new idea or a new business, right? On with the 59-6, and on this other side is once it is born, right? How do we take care of it? How do we nurture it? How do we make sure that it's successful moving forward into the future, whether it be a child or whether it be a business that you've birthed? And of course, this is an awareness function, though. So it does come with a fear, and this is the fear of responsibility. And this also, this particular strength, as well as the two traits, feel very responsible for the tribe and making sure that the tribe is running in the way that the tribe needs to run in order to move forward into the future. So I would love to hear from Michelle and Anna what you see with the 50. I don't remember if either of you have that.
Yeah, I don't have the 50, but I have the 27. So I'll talk about my side on the other side.
Yes.
Do have lots of family members though with this trait. Almost my husband has this. It's our electromagnetic connection for building, maintaining, managing family and businesses. And that's what we've done our whole life together, is build and maintain and manage businesses and families. And every one of our children has like our oldest son has the full strength, our second son has the 50, and our daughter has the 27. So we're all pretty tight. And actually all of their partners have either the 50 or the 27 as well. So this is very strong in our tribe.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you, Shelley. How about for you, Anna?
Well, I don't have the 50 either, but I have a sibling that has the whole strength. And I've noticed that she's very into enforcing, guarding, creating, scrutinizing, what's working, what isn't, kind of holding businesses together. And she often worried about flitting from one job to another, but basically what she's done is keep her family business. Her ex-husband and her sons all ran a business. So when they got divorced, she ended up with the part of the business that took care of rentals and things like that. So, this is managing how to keep all of this nurturing going, the internal part of the business and her rentees, and how to keep it all going. So it's been more observational than personal for me. But yeah, taking too much responsibility and then being afraid that she wasn't doing a good enough job and this and that, but she's done a very good job.
Yeah, yeah. And so just like the fear of failure that is there present, right? Just like what Anna was talking about, as we move into, so in the next couple of days, we'll move into trait 50. One of the things to notice as we move into trait 50 is where's the fear of responsibility coming up? Because you might find that you get overwhelmed with too much responsibility, or you might find, it too controlling. It's interesting that what grounds the 50 is the 3. And the 3 is, trouble at the beginning. The 3 is one of the most mutative traits as well. It's what brings forth something new. So you can see that it's interesting that we have these two traits of, this playing it safe, this tribal continuity, yet on the other side is, these big transformations, transformation. Again, what grounds it is the 3 here, which is ordering. And then also, like what we were just talking about on the other side of the with the 54 on that, in that way as well, or bringing things to a conclusion so something new can arise, right? We just took a look at the 32 and what grounds it is the 42, bringing things to completion, taking a look at what our values are, so ultimately we can start something new. Again, both of these are very transformational and very much looking into the future. So let's take a look at also how you are affected when you are connected. And then I would love to hear from anyone who either has trait 50 or again has the 27 on the other side. So the shadow of the 50 is the lack of values to set healthy boundaries when caring for others. So questions: do you find yourself taking care of everyone else, but not taking care of yourself? Do you care deeply for others and like supporting others, but don't know when enough is enough? And the problem is that you may lack the instinct and the value to set healthy boundaries around your natural impulse to care for others. And you can easily end up sacrificing yourself or sacrificing your own well-being. So once again, the solution is that you're designed to work with others who can help provide the values and the rules to help set healthy boundaries and be nourished and nurtured, nourishing and nurturing yourself first before supporting others. So again, I know, Shelley, you were saying that you have the 27, but not the 50. So I'm curious how you relate to this.
Absolutely. This was my entire life until I found out about BG5. It was yeah, because that instinct to care for people is just in me. And I've done it since I was a small child. And I can see it now in my grandniece. She's got the 27, and oh my God, it's adorable to watch her, how she takes care of all her baby dolls and takes care of people around her in the family. And it's just really inherently built in that that's where your energy goes, is to nurture. And it's just automatic, or for me it was just automatic that I almost would find myself moving to care for somebody before I'd even thought about it. It was just go here, do this, comfort this person, get them this thing that you know they need. Yeah, I have the 44 as well, so I often instinctually know what they need before they know what they need themselves. So I did find myself throughout the majority of my life, and especially when I was raising my children, I often had many other kids around as well. The kids would bring their friends over, or we had lots of nieces and nephews that were around. And also this caring for the people in my own family, my own siblings. I was just looking at their designs again, and I recognized that my older sister had the full strength, and my older brother and I, he had the 50, I have the 27. And we really were the caretakers in our whole family because our parents didn't have any of these strengths, and neither did my younger brother and sister. So I was the one assigned to look after my younger brother and sister. My older sister really took on the role of almost mother and father in our home, in making sure we all had what we needed. And she just did it so naturally and automatically that our parents expected it from her as well. So it's interesting how just this is our nature. This is how we're built. We just do it without actually even thinking. And it took me well into my late 30s before I was starting to really feel burnout. And I had a good friend who gave me a beautiful analogy that even though I could get it mentally, I still couldn't stop myself from doing all of this. She said, you can't pour water from an empty jug. You really need to fill yourself up first to make sure you're taken care of before you care for others. And it took me a really long time to actually live that, though. I really had to, I experienced several burnouts before I actually got the message. And it was like it had to be a physical thing in my body. My body had to physically be stopped from doing it before I could really get the message that, okay, now I've gone that far. I know where the line is. Now I know where I got to bring it back to. And now I know where I need to stop and make sure I'm taken care of before I offer to help someone else. So that's been a really wonderful process to go through, even though it was very painful at time. It really was the thing that helped me, that and understanding, because 27 is connected directly to the energy resource, understanding being a builder and responding to things instead of my mind also getting in the way and conditioning telling me, oh, you should take care of that person. Even if you don't have energy for it, you should go take care of them because that's what's expected of you. So being able to tap into my my sacral response, and then also take a bit of extra time with my emotional definition to feel out whether I have energy to do that or not, has been a real gift in helping me set a clear and healthy boundary for myself. And it's still something I have to really pay attention to, because it's way easier for me to do it than not. So it's hard to hold it back, and it takes constant awareness. So yeah, I'm really glad that I've learned about it, and giving myself the permission to take care of me first and not feel guilty about that.
Yeah, beautifully shared, Shelley. Thank you so much. And I know Laura, you said you had the 50, correct?
Yes, I do. I have it unconscious, future direction. And most of my adult life, I've been involved with education for children. And I always end up in the administration of the organization too. And I have this fear that if I don't take responsibility for everything, things won't happen. And it's only been recently that I realized, wait a minute, if I don't do it, maybe someone else will. And I kind of resonated with what you said, Shelley, about burning out. I started burning out from especially after COVID, fewer people were doing more with less people, with fewer people. And with fewer people, we were doing more work. And thank you. And I realized, well, if I don't do it, what will happen? And I just have been experimenting, and actually other people are stepping in. So it's been a great learning for me. But my fear, I guess I have the fear of responsibility, or that no one else will take it. So I end up overdoing. So it works that way. But in terms of upholding rules, I'm not crazy about a lot of rules because they don't always make sense. But if they do, I would be the enforcer. I think I do end up in that role periodically.
Yeah.
So,
And that's the thing, just like what Shelley was mentioning before, that you have a tendency to end up in that role, even if you don't want to, even though, it's oftentimes if you have particular traits or particular strengths, you'll find that you end up in particular roles or expected to take on responsibility, even when it's not something that you're necessarily wanting to do.
yes, definitely.
Yeah. Beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that, Lori. Anyone else have the 50? Curious if there's anyone else here in our Zoom room that also has the 50. Yeah, Leanna.
Oh, you saw that. Yes, I unmuted. I didn't know you could see that. I do have the 50, but I feel a bit confused. I'm just checking it. Oh yeah, I have an unconscious conscious. I feel like I know it, but I don't know it. It's really funny. That's the little unconscious bit, because I know this, but I don't have words for it in a way. Or I know it, but I don't know it in this moment. But I do, it's values. And I relate this to community when you're looking at roles or teams. And what I do have experienced myself is that this has not always had a place in the bottom dollar. And especially if you're looking at business, when business models, when you're looking for venture capital, when businesses or someone who has an idea, an entrepreneur is looking to scale or do a startup, what traditionally is looked at and calculated is the graphs for projected revenue, the graphs for market fit, the graphs of the information on your competitors. What they don't graph is the value trajectory. It's not graph, there's no dollar value to that, but I do believe that's changing, right? As we're moving into the new era, we won't be looking at things the same way. And I feel that this one values is going to start to be valued more, because I'm still finding that it's not what teams lead with necessarily. Even when they sort of pride themselves on having a heartfelt mission or wanting to do something really purposeful in the world, this one I find still gets missed or not uncovered. And I think this one, and for me personally, this one can be hard for me to deliver to teams, because the focus is usually on the drivers, which people don't realize is this one. But in the era of planning, I guess maybe it wasn't as much, because I'm still feeling that this is becoming more valued, but there's still it's still getting missed. I still feel a conditioning when I try to share about this. I can feel vulnerable and a little bit ashamed, a little bit, maybe not shamed, but anxious. Like people won't care about this, and then I'll be left or overlooked. But this is really vital to me. This is a vital ingredient. And I want to shout out to BG5, because I have never worked or been involved in I feel emotional. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Yeah, BG5, just very authentic and really strong values, and working on the team, untreated. So with this, yeah, wow. Yes, so I feel this with BG5.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Leanna. And I do think moving forward into the future, it really is, what do we value? And having, because in the era of planning, it's been, working for a paycheck and it's aligned to your values. Maybe, maybe not, but you do it for a paycheck. Here, moving more into the era of the individual, your own personal values must, in a sense, be honored. Whether you have trait 50 or not, we still have one of the life aspects within our design is values. And so it really is following our own personal values. And when we take a look at, what's really important, we need to follow our own personal values and our own personal law, because if we're not following our own personal values and our own personal law, that's where we end up in a sense getting punished, or that where the judge and discipline come into play when we take a look at when we take a look at the life aspects. And so values are very important, and this is values within a larger organization. This is one of the OC16 traits. The enforcer, we need to also enforce the values, making sure that we're following the values, not only individually, but also within the organization itself. And oftentimes people are investing in businesses that are aligned with their values, or not investing in a company if it's not aligned with their values. So I do think that that's becoming very, very important. Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing that, Leanna.
Oh, sorry.
Yes,
Yes,
Anna.
cannot, oh, sorry,
Oh, yeah.
can I add?
Go, yeah,
I've
yeah.
recovered. I can't believe that. Consumers purchase with their values, right? Traditionally, and more, and traditionally VCs or venture capital, or, the business model was not investing with values, right? But I want to highlight consumers absolutely are the first ones, and this is your ground, the power from the ground level instead of the power from the top. I am seeing this in the business world that I'm in now. The shift is moving more than ever before to the power of the consumers who purchase based on their values. So you see, instead of the top heavy going off the bottom line with their investment, what would give them the most amount of profit. So I really see this changing as we're moving into the era of the individual. Thank you.
Yes, and Shelley just looked at your chart, and apparently 50 is in your values and your uniqueness. So it's perfect. You have values in your values. Beautiful. Yes, Anna.
Well, I was just going to segue from what Leanna was talking about the integrity, the values not having, quote, commercial value, but it's always in the, like you mentioned earlier, Karen, it's always in the mission, it's always in the vision, it's always a statement in the business plan. So it's an essential part of how the spirit of the business is built and filters through. I'd also like to connect it way back to the beginning of our segment here, when you were talking about getting certified for CEU credit, because that's what you mentioned was so apparent to them, and what made the process, even though it probably took a lot of work, they could see that the values were in order. There was integrity in what you were presenting. And the cool part to me is that's the whole crux of what BG5 is that it holds the integrity of a person's design, a team, effort, an organization, that it's been unspoken for a while, but it's so permeating, and now there's more room for it. And to get your accreditation for those CEUs, BG5 exemplified this whole piece here. It's easy to get you credit, CEU credit.
Yeah. Thank you for that, Anna. Wow. Wow, very, very, very powerful. So, I want to wrap everything up again. If you are new to BG5, we invite you to get a free report, find out what your career design is. You can also get a free chart if you're wondering, oh, do I have the 50? Do I have the 32? Do I have any of these traits? You can take a look at your own career map or take a look at the free report. We also have reports that you can purchase as well if you want to get into more detail. Again, you can always find us if you want to join us live in our live Zoom room. You can go to the BG5 Business Institute and go to BG5 Live. You can also watch past episodes in our free resource library as well as on YouTube. And again, we do have new courses coming up in January, and coming up in January, you'll also receive CU credits for every course you take with us as well. So it has been, like I said, it's been quite a journey, and we invite you to take part in one of our courses. And again, you also get credit for it as well. All right. So let's wrap everything up. And what I would love to hear from each of our panelists, we took a look at the 52, I'm sorry, we took a look at the 32 and we took a look at the 50, right? So we took a look at continuity and we took a look at values. So we're going to be in continuity today and tomorrow, and then we shift gears and we move into values. So just based on what we talked about today, what should people be paying attention to over the next week in really taking a look at both of those traits? So Anna, would you like to start us off?
Yeah, I'm just kind of thinking this through here. As you mentioned, Karen, right now in the States anyway, there's a lot of political talk and conversation because of elections. And so, some of the storylines have continuity, but they don't really have values. And there's a lot of scrutiny right now as to who's got integrity and who lied about this, or who's part of this situation or that situation. And it's all coming out. I mean, it's all just bubbling up. And so I would say, in terms of sort of what's in the field right now, there's going to be, whether you're in the States or somewhere else, there's going to be examples of what values are being talked about, assessed, how are they being lived or not lived, what's the continuity of the storyline, and is it breaking or is it holding up for the future? Is it holding up and strengthening for something positive? So I would just kind of watch what's in the field, feel what's in the field, listen to what you're listening to, and see how this is actually speaking right now.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you so much, Anna. And we're getting, we've gone over a little bit as well. So real quickly, Lori, I'd love to hear if there's anything that you would like to add.
Well, just we need to look at what to continue and what we maybe need to let go of as we go forward with the 32 and with the 50. Really look at what we value and how much responsibility or energy we want to put into each element of our lives.
Yeah, beautifully said, Lori. Thank you so much. And Leanna.
I'd just say with the 32 for the next couple days, teaching ourselves that when we're feeling like we're in something that we're enduring, it's not a signal that we've gone astray or we've made a wrong turn somewhere. And also, this is a good one. Like, if I feel this one quite strongly this month, so a great little strategy I'm going to do is mark it on my calendar for next year. So I'm aware of, what I'll be moving into, the ones that I feel that activate me a lot. That's all. And the 50, the values. Spending time with people who share your values so that it strengthens the values that you have and value. Yeah, it strengthens the values that you value.
I love it. Thank you so much, Leanna and Shelley.
I just keep thinking about the 3 and the 42 and the changes coming through and the transformation, and how what we're talking about with the 32 and the 50 is the cradle. You mentioned it, the cradle of humanity. It's about embracing the transition as things are coming through, and caring and nurturing for it, so that we get the things that we value and have those be the things that continue.
Yes, beautifully said, Shelley. Beautiful. Well, it has been our absolute pleasure. Have an amazing week. Also pay attention to where you may have a fear of failure in the next couple days. Also pay attention to where you have a fear of responsibility in the rest of the week as we move into trait 50 as well. Have a fabulous week and look forward to seeing you all next week. Great to be back, and we'll see you next week. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.